Welcome back to the grind. In this video, I'm going to break down what masteries I used for my initial completion of the Abyss on Path 1 and why. The champions that I used were the typical horsemen of the Abyss, which are Dr. Doom, Nick Fury, Human Torch, Aegon, which was the main powerhouse of the run, and then for synergy purposes, Heimdall, so that every time I would have died, I went indestructible and was able to, continue the fight a little bit longer. So the masteries that I focused on were to maximize my potential for primarily Aegon. And I went a little bit different than what I've seen a lot of people doing and recommending, but a lot of the basics are still the same. So you can see here my basic offense mastery setup. We have the typical stuff going from the start all the way through to precision and cruelty, and I just went to 4 on them because Aegon crits so much at baseline once you have him ramped up. I felt like I could spare a couple extra points there to put into other masteries. And then I put in courage all 3 because the 20% additional attack while below 50% health is pretty significant. So 20% attack pretty much all the time because you don't usually heal up to full in most fights. So you pop a 40% revive and then you're less than 50%. So you have a bonus 20% attack. I did remove my suicide masteries for the run. I wanted to be able to freely use special attacks, especially because when you have Aegon ramped up and you get used to the heavy attack method where you heavy attack, they attack you back, and then you chain on your special 2, then you can get a lot of damage off of that special 2, especially the bleed, which is also why I focused 5 into deep wounds so that I could get as much damage off of that bleed as possible, especially because Nick Fury was also on my team, which I used for the Invisible Women primarily. And so I wanted to get as much out of the bleed as possible. I did have 3 extra to put into glass cannon because of how sparse I did the rest of my tree. That just gave me a little bit extra attack overall. I put up to 3 in assassin, and this is all your preference. If you're focusing on other areas, you can spare just having 1 here, but I do recommend having assassin on a little bit. You don't have to max it out because you spend the majority of your fight outside of this range, but you do benefit because you're going through so many hundred thousands of health that if you can reduce this as much as possible, even during the last phase of the attack, I felt like it was nice to have that added attack damage. Now, I did go all 4 into the extended fury and the enhanced fury. Again, because I was relying so much on Aegon on Path 1, as well as using Nick Fury and Dr. Doom. So the Enhanced Fury ability here, the 8% extra, it did come in handy a bit for them as well. And you don't have to do this second one here, but I do recommend using the Extended Fury because it does allow you a lot more uptime on the Furies from Aegon when you do go into that heavy attack, get them to attack you and then release your heavy attack. Then you get those 6 Furies, and that really increases the duration of them quite nicely, so you can chin on a special 2 and then even get a whole combo in after that. So it's definitely nice to have that extended duration. I did put 1 in Unfazed here just to try it out because I think it was Legacy or somebody recommended just having 1 in there. I didn't ever feel like it benefited me at all, so you could spare that one elsewhere, especially if you don't have it unlocked. I did have it unlocked, so I just thought I would try it out. So how was I able to fill the offensive tree so fully? Well, I did something that not a lot of people probably do, is I left out willpower. I did not go back into willpower because I wanted to have the extra offensive points, and I didn't feel like many of the fights were going to rely on willpower, and really there weren't any fights that I had debuffs on me that often or at all, and so I didn't feel like it was necessary. The one where it would have come in handy and where I was tempted to put them back on was for Invisible Women, because you have debuffs on you all the time, so you'd be healing constantly, which would really help with chip damage. But in addition to that, because of one of the nodes, you get a power sting on you, and so if you throw special attacks, you take damage, and the sting only lasts 15 seconds after you or the opponent crosses 1 bar of power, so you can play around it, and I will be putting out a video of how I managed Invisible Women as well, so you can watch that to see. But once you get into the unblockable phase with Nick Fury, you don't really need to throw specials, but it would be nice for extra damage throughout the run and make it go quicker. So if you did want to reset your masteries at that point, you could, and put in willpower. And if you do, what I was going to do was basically reskill for suicide masteries, except leave off the recoil and onward, and just save those points for after the call fight, because you going to be special spamming with Dr. Doom against Call Obsidian. But then once you go into the collector, you can put on the suicide masteries if you like, and just focus on, you know, heavy attacking and doing as much damage as you can against the collector. And I'll put out a video against the collector as well, just to show a bit how it works and how you can work around him. So all I did here was to get the extra block proficiency, because you want to take as little chip damage as possible during the Abyss, and it's nice their attack isn't crazy high, but it all adds up, especially when you have to block special attacks. In the proficiency tree, I did max out Limber. Of course, I maxed out Parry and Stupefy to increase the stun duration as much as possible. I only wanted 1 in Dex, obviously. And then I did max out Limber, because if you get hit or get clipped by a special attack, the special attacks have a 100% chance to stun you, and each hit has a chance to stun you as well, just from a basic combo. If you don't have Limber maxed out, the stun is so long they can get a whole combo in, and maybe even more. But depending on which opponent it was and how far away they are when they throw the special attack, sometimes you can actually get up and dodge their incoming hit if you have maxed out Limber. So this saved me a lot, because I did end up getting stunned several times throughout my run, and having Limber was huge for decreasing the number of times that I would die from the stuns. And then I put 4 out of 5 in Mystic Dispersion, because I was using Dr. Doom, or any Mystic for the run really, but it's really nice to have Mystic Dispersion for the Mystic fights, and there are several on Path 1, so this was really nice to have. But that's all I did in here as well. I didn't feel like I needed the decreased power gain or regeneration rate from Petrify, because, you know, you're not always having the opponent under stun, and none of the opponents really required this, and I didn't feel like I needed Pacify either. So going this sparse, again, like I said, the only downside that I really felt not having willpower was against Invisible Women, but I was able to work around it quite reasonably, and this allowed me to really fill out the offensive tree to get as much damage as possible for especially Aegon focused, allowing me to have 5 out of 5 deep wounds, allowing me to have all these fury bonuses, allowing me to have max courage, and even putting 3 points into assassin. And if you don't want all 3 in assassin, you could take one or two of them out and put them into precision or cruelty if that's your preference. I would definitely say you could do without unfazed, but this is how I ran the Abyss. I did it the whole time. Again, I was tempted to switch into having willpower, but I felt like this worked really well for the majority of the run, or pretty much all the run, especially for Path 1. And, you know, maybe for different paths, you might want to do it a bit different depending on who your champions are going to be. But this is how I built it. Let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know what you did for your run. I was actually also tempted to throw one into here or a couple into here for Aegon, because I was using him primarily. But that's basically what I did. Let me know what your thoughts are, what you think of how I ran the Abyss, what you plan to do or what you have done in the past, and I hope to see you in the next video.